Upgrades. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another JVS movie review. Here we have one of the most hyped horror movies of the year, and this one is called Good Boy. Here's a quick synopsis. A loyal dog moves to a rural family home with his owner, only to discover supernatural forces lurking in the shadows. As the dark entities threaten his human companion, the brave pup must fight to protect the one he loves the most. And this is directed by Ben Leonberg, and it stars Indy, the dog, playing himself, and Shane Jensen. Now, the best way to put Good Boy is, this is a short story that someone decided would make a solid, good feature film here. As we're introduced to Indy and his human from the dog's perspective, which is off top one of the best decisions possibly made, is to show you this film and to show you these dark entities from the dog's perspective. So we get to see everything from the dog's perspective, including not fully seeing his human's face for majority of this film here. I believe that is a wonderful setup, and it's a wonderful decision by Ben here. Again, unfortunately for Good Boy, this is not a full-length feature film. It just does not feel like one. This story drags so much because it's not a lot to work with here. And I think it's a interesting choice. I'm not gonna say good. It's an interesting choice when you make the dog the main character in a film. And then when you get interactions with the humans where it just doesn't seem overtly realistic in their interactions with this dog. And then we get the supernatural forces of it. Granted, the forces and the supernatural forces are an analogy for something else that's happening with his owner here, as we get to see that his owner is sick. And we don't necessarily know at the beginning if he's terminally sick or if he's just sick. But you can hint to where it's going to by the way the film moves here. But the grace of the film is that Indy is such a lovable dog. And we know the traits of dogs and how loyal they are to their owners here. But it just feels at times there's so many situations that Indy ends up in that just doesn't feel like they work here. And I think that's the problem with this story, is that while this story would make an amazing short film, when you extend it as long as you do, it just wears itself thin after a while here. And because I don't believe it's enough suspense amped up in this film for this unique premise to really shine through, instead we get a film where we get to see a director pull off some masterful shots here. Masterful the way they work it here. But it feels like a lot of the effort was put into making the film look good more than actually executing a story or a plot that anybody would care about. Because the humans play second nature to the dog in the film, it is almost humanly impossible to build up a proper amount of suspense in this movie. Humanly impossible to do so. Because you still need a certain form of interaction that helps you out here. When we get to see these entities through the dog's eyes, at times it just feels a little wonky because we're not seeing it through the human's eyes. And then by the time we get to the third act, a lot of that changes. And then you have questions about why is that changing the way it is? But then it reverts right back to the dog, Indy. And because this is a dog that is not a talking dog like a Disney movie here, it just leaves it leaves the audience needing more of either very amazingly tricky camera angles or amp up suspenses in different ways. Your protagonist doesn't have to be verbal for your film to work. It's a film a couple years ago called The Gen, where the main kid character did not speak in the entire movie. He did not have the ability to speak. And suspense was still amped up properly here in that film. With Good Boy here, while it looks wonderful, This is also, its score is not enough to pulsate you into an actual thriller. I think most people who would love Good Boy is because you love dogs more than you love good movies. So if you love dogs more than you love good movies, I think Good Boy is for you. But if you are a lover of horrors, especially, Good Boy is not a horror, and you're not going to believe it's a horror. It's a very interesting concept that was stretched out to a full length feature that should not have been. Because again, it's just not enough there for this story to exist for an hour plus time frame. When about 15 minutes, you could have gotten the crux of the story and been perfectly fine. And because in the background of it are the humans and you don't give enough story or information on these humans, I think it also makes this film suffer because that backstory could have been would be possibly needed to either add a different layer of the supernatural element to the film, or because again, to me, it feels like an analogy for something completely different for you to even care about the human in this film here. I don't think that is explored enough. It should have been more of a balance there. Instead of seeing the cute dog run around and the cute dog trying to avoid supernatural forces. And then by the time we get to this third act, this very cute dog doing unbelievable things that dogs don't do. But for the sake of the story, I gotta believe that this dog can do the things that it does in the third act of this film. I think by that point in time, though, you may just check out of Good Boy and just understand what you're in for here, which is a cute dog running around fighting ghosts from time to time. But Good Boy, brought to you by IFC. It is currently still in theaters. Out of a possible 10, I am going to give Good Boy a 6 out of 10. It is not enough story here for this movie to actually be a movie here. Again, if you are a dog person and you love dogs, this film is for you. If you are a person who are okay with dogs, but you want to see a film that has a solid story and a solid plot, this movie is not for you. Because this movie does not have any one of those elements in it here. It is literally a cute dog running around for an hour plus time of this film. And if that's what you're here for, that's what Good Boy is going to give you. Unfortunately, it suffers on every other level because this should not have been a feature film. I think this would have hit so much harder as a short film, and it would have been thoroughly entertaining as a short film. But once you get past the 30-minute mark, it just feels repetitive. And when a film feels repetitive, I think at that point you're going to lose your audience here. Now, granted, the concept of what's happening here is very much original and very interesting. Again, I will always credit them for the shot selection in this film, even the POV version of it we get from a doll's perspective. Very interesting. I thought we were going down a path of a violent nature when we got it from the killer's perspective, but I said, okay, if you do that from a doll's perspective, from the entire film, maybe you can make this work. But then at that point, the dog has to be constant. It has to be constant movement because once you get to slow periods and no real dialogue, it's nothing to carry this film. And you're just waiting for the next jump scare or thrilling moment. And you do that a lot in Good Boy. And I think the film suffers because of that. But again, check it out in theaters. Let us know what you think. This has been another JVS movie review. Peace, people.